Hi there and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rachel and in today's video I wanted to share with you a flip through sharing the January pages that I've done for my journal prompts. So what I've started this year is a list of journal prompts that I share on my website and also on my Instagram every month. So at the beginning of the month I will share questions and prompts that you can use in your journal for that month. So you can use it in a notebook or an art journal or a planner or any type of school exercise book. It really doesn't matter what journal you're using. You can use anything that you want. But what I am hoping to do is inspire you to get some words down and some journaling into your journals, because it's beneficial and it's also a really nice way to share some of yourself. So it could be things that you've done in the past or some memories and various other things from your past. It's also about the present and possibly the future. So the little journal prompts, I'll show you here an example of one of the journal prompts. So this is what I share on my Instagram and also on the blog on my website. So you can see here my website is rachelgregg.com and my Instagram is just @rachelgregg, and you can find these journal prompts in both of those locations, and I've got the hashtag here RG journal prompts for you to find the journal prompts if you're on Instagram, but also if you'd like to share some of your journal pages, that's the hashtag for you to use, so then we can all check out what you've been creating with these journal prompts in mind. So this one here, this one is the January journal prompts, and you can download this from my website. So if you go to the blog and go to the journal prompts blog post, this here will be an image that you can download so you can stick it into your journal like I have, or if you don't have a square journal you can like fold the page or make it smaller, bigger, whatever way you like here for these January journal prompts. To start with for this year is I'm using a Dylusions square journal. So this is one of the square journals. It's about 8" by 8" in size, and it has really nice thick sturdy pages. And what I've done for January is I wanted to keep it fairly simple. I wanted to have a little bit of art but mostly concentrate on the journaling. I didn't want to make it too hard for myself, so that was my number one rule. But what I did want to do was use it as kind of like a month of experimentation where I could use some supplies, art supplies, and use them for the entire month. So then not only did I have a habit of journaling, but I also had a habit of using those supplies or those art supplies to create almost every day, to get used to those art supplies. So it was I really enjoyed doing that for the January month, and the supplies that I did use were some of these liquid inks. So the ones that I was using were from Diemans Ink. Now they're an Australian ink company based in Tasmania, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but I just thought I'd try out their inks and get to know them basically over the month, like the inks, get to know the inks I should say, over the month, and just see how they work and what colours I really enjoyed. And as you can see here, this was my little ink swatch that I did before I started. So these are the colours that I had to work with. So I had a nice little colour palette there to use. And this is just some other ink swatches as well that I've done using those. And that's just some of the ink bottles. As you can see here, I've got quite a few of them. And they have series of ink. So these different labels, it just means they come from a different series. And some of them are shimmers. If I can find one that's a shimmer one, I can kind of show you at the bottom. Now those ones aren't shimmery. Let me find one that is. This Twilight ink is normally shimmery. Yes, here we go. You can see that there. So you can see that shimmer inside the bottle. So you just generally need to smush that around a bit to get that shimmer to mix in. And then that shimmer there will mix in with the liquid ink, and that will create a really nice glittery shimmery ink to use. So I'll show you that because I actually use some of that throughout the month. So that's just the little ink bottles. The difference in size, that just means it's 30 ml, and then these ones are 50 ml. So I've just got a lot for those larger bottles. Okay, so this one here, I use the ink here just for the background here, just to stick on the journal prompts. And then what I did for every day was I used a dip pen. So this is a dip pen just by Speedball, and I just use different nibs. So I've got like a thicker nib like this one, and then I had some thinner nibs to write with. Sometimes I didn't change the nib and I wrote with a thicker nib. It just depended on what I had or what I had on hand on the day. But that's the little dip pen that I was using. And I just literally dipped it into the ink bottle, and then I drew whatever I wanted to draw and experimented with that. And then I also did my journaling, usually in black. So that's how I started with, and you can see here, this one here. Now this one was one of my favorite colors. I started with it and I ended up using it a lot, and I'm just going to find it here. It's this ink here. So I'm not quite sure if they still have that in stock. I think they may have discontinued some of these colors, but I'm sure they must have something very similar now, hopefully in one of the other series that they have. This one's the Hollywood series, Rita Hayworth Locks, and this was a really nice rusty color. And this one here was reactive with water, so I was blending it out. So I drew the flower and then I'd blend it out with a water brush, and so I was getting these really nice watery effects as well. So what I did was I drew my bits and pieces that I wanted to experiment with the color. Then I drew the question of the day, and then my journaling. And using this dip pen, using these dip pens for journaling, it's something that I really enjoy doing because it kind of creates different handwriting than I normally would if I wasn't using that type of pen, so like a fountain pen. And I mean, my journal pages are quite messy. Like I was not neat in any way. I had splotches here because the ink was still wet when I started writing, but I'm not very concerned about any of that because it just makes it more authentic to what it was on the day. So this one here, I just wanted to test out some of the brighter colors of ink that I had. So I just alternated with, you know, leaf patterns and vine patterns that I was just creating, just experimenting with little circles here and leaves, and how I could, you know, draw those with the pen. And then when I thought it was all dry, that's when I started doing the journaling. But as you can see, I smudged a little bit of it, but that's just the way it goes, and just, yeah, adds a bit more character, I reckon. So this is my journaling that I did. Sometimes I did like this one here, what is your idea of a perfect morning? And I drew a sun over the ocean because that's what I was writing about. And then I just kept these colours going just for this page. This colour here, now I can't remember which colour that was now. I'm pretty sure it's this one here. The Deciduous Beach Autumn. Can't be 100% sure, but I just found it really nice to draw with. Like, it was just really fluid. So it almost looks like a little watercolor without me even using a water brush with it. It was just really, really nice. I enjoyed using that one a lot. Then this one here, just experimenting with different flowers. I wasn't trying, you know, too hard with any of this. It was just what colors I felt like on the day. This one here, I was drawing a Mac computer and did my journaling inside because that's what that was about, and just washing out some of the colors here so you can get some really nice shading and really nice watercolor effects with that. And this paper held up really well for the ink that I was, you know, putting on it as well. So that was another experiment that I was doing, was just seeing how much water. I know these pages can take a lot of water, but I wasn't sure how this ink was going to react with this paper as well, because these are Dylusion journals, which are like, they work really well with the Dylusions ink. I wasn't quite sure how they'd work with these inks as well, but I was really, really happy with how it all worked, and it all dried, like if I let it dry before I smudged things out. But I just really enjoyed using this. For this one here, I drew the flower first, and then I used this page here for 3 different days. So I quite enjoy doing pages like this. It just makes it a little bit more fascinating, because then you can, you know, spin it around to read the journaling. It's not just always straight journaling. Basically, in the same here, I was just experimenting with different ways to break up the page, like go sideways this way, or break it in half sideways, or diagonally I should say, and then journal this way and journal that way. And sometimes I'd like it in terms of, yeah, that was really nice. And then this way I went, oh, well, I'll do my question down here and then journal this way. Sometimes I realised I probably should have done it a different way halfway through, but that's the fun of just experimenting as you go. So again, I'm just using the inks, and this time here I dripped quite a lot of it on there because I wanted some little splatters, as well as my journaling left to right. Now that was nice and easy because I just did the butterflies in the center, easy journaling on the left and the right. Again, if I was starting to do interesting little leaf patterns here, I didn't want to leave any spaces. That's a theme that I had going on for this particular month. I was filling up every little bit of these pages. So for this one, you know, what things do you like to eat for breakfast? And then I was writing out all the things I like to eat and just going in between the little petals here just to fill up those gaps, and then just experimenting here with hearts and little dashes. It just gave me a way to try out the pen and the thickness of the nib that I was using for that ink, and then using, you know, little hearts anywhere that there was a space to finish off with. And sometimes you can see here I had more ink in my nib than I needed for those letters, and it seeped out a little bit more than what I wanted it to, but again, adds character. It just shows you that using a pen nib with ink is never 100% perfect in my hands. It could be in your hands, but my hands not so much, but I'm not concerned at all. So I really enjoyed, so I did that one here. This one was page or day 2. So I wanted to experiment again with that. I really enjoyed doing that. And that sort of like leafy vine look. And so what I did with that one is I just did it once, and then I'd repeat it a couple of times without re-inking or dipping my pen in again, and then just getting those really thin lines there. So I enjoyed doing that. This one here, using some lettering, doing some more lettering here with the different colours. And then this one, if I can bring it up and show you a bit, you can see here how that's one of the inks that has that shimmer. So when you actually move the page around, it shows you that little shimmer within that ink, which I think is really lovely. It just adds a little bit extra to the page, so whenever you move it, it just gives that little shine to it, which is nice. Experimenting with drawing some roses, that was fun. And then again, doing my journaling bits and pieces. Like if I finished this one and I didn't have enough to say for the rest of the page, I just left that, and then I did that sideways down there, so it just keeps it all interesting. This is one of the last pages of the January, and this one I was again experimenting with how to break up the page into different blocks, so different journal sections, and using my leaves. You can see I love a lot of nature and doing leaves and flowers and whatever. So this one here, I used one of the orange inks and then drew it all, and then just used a water brush just to colour it in using the ink that was already on the page. So I did that while it was wet, and then just coloured in using the ink with the leaf, and it just gave that lighter orange colour to it. So that was the way I broke up this page, and then journaled sideways there and then down from the top there. And my last page for January is this one here. And so for this one, I was experimenting with a little leaf viney pattern again. This one's more sort of rounded and loopy, and using 2 different colours. So a really nice olive, and then the dark orange, or the rusty colour. So I really enjoyed creating that, and then they were my last 2 journal prompts for January. So then we go into February, and I'll share that once that section is finished. But I just wanted to show you this now, so it might give you an idea for what you do with your journaling for the month. So I just enjoyed having the one art supply, which were these little inks, like the liquid inks, and using that to draw with and experiment with, and then doing my journaling with the same ink, just the black, around that. So, and then I'm thinking that every month how I'm going to approach this project for the month is that I will choose a different supply or a different kind of composition or something for every month. And so then I just stick to that for the duration of the month. So I'm not overthinking it every single day, you know, what am I going to do on each page and what supplies am I going to use. I basically have this on my desk, I create something or I draw something, and then I do my journaling. And so that's how I wanted to approach it. So if you'd like to play along, yeah, definitely check out the prompts on my Instagram or on my website at rachelgregg.com. And if you'd like to share what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily, we don't need to read your journaling, but you know, if you photograph it in a way where you can kind of show if you're doing any creating or whatever. But if you'd like to share that, we'd love to see it and help inspire each other and spur each other on and encourage each other to continue journaling in our journals and adding some words to our art journal pages. So thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to add them below, and in the description I'll also link up to the blog post as well. So happy journaling for the year, and thanks so much for watching.